So it appears to me that, luckily, it seems to me that some people are really interested in my videos. And I'm quite delighted, to be honest, that people are actually interested in these videos and that people are actually listening and taking the time in their days to listen to me. And I just want to say thank you for whoever's actually listening to me and liking my videos. Feel free to actually introduce yourself if you want to, or even post questions. I'm always eager to actually make more videos on specific topics that my listeners want to actually listen to. And I know that it's difficult because my topics has always been kind of niche. And especially with these occult-like topics, it's a new kind of morbid fascination I kind of started having to look into a bit more macabre sides of the reality. So I'm not really sure if this is really what I should be doing, but I really want to change the focus of my channel because I really believe there's so much more for me in this sentiment to actually do. And this is particularly why I also think there's kind of a dark side when it comes to many of the literature and lores that we have online, and that nobody's actually able to critique or even willing to really offer a brute response to these type of phantom ideas that people are posing online. And I think it's part of me it's actually calling or beckoning me to step aside and to step into the fire or in the line of fire, because I know that part of me is there's a responsibility that rests on me to do this. And I know if I weren't to do this, and I would find somewhat guilty for not being able to ensure that I have at least spoke out or be a spokesman of better truth or better justice. So I feel kind of compelled to be able to speak out against people, especially these channels promoting dark philosophies or ways of operation that I just feel it's completely anisotropic and really fanciful. And I do think part of this is just me having to warn people and tell people essentially you don't want to be like you don't want to be you don't want to be the baby in the cradle here, because the cradle isn't a real cradle. And I want to warn people this because especially people like some of these occult. I'm not trying to banish or bash anybody really in this movement, because I know a lot of people have their own paths, and some people might see something in. Like I completely understand that. And by the way, I'm going to make a video on Aleister Crowley as well. I don't even know how to really say his name. Some people call him Aleister Crowley. Like it's a crow, so it's Crowley, and there's kind of it's like an adjective like about to crow. It's like a crow is a species of like a mammalian species, like a bird mammalian, like a bird species. What do they call in biology? Like the species of bird, the mammalian species of birds, right? So crow is part of that, but I don't know. Some people call him Aleister Crowley. I think it's the US variant, or yeah, US variant of his name or whatever. Aleister Crowley. But anyway, I want to formulate a critique because, like, I want to say something with Aleister Crowley. I always call him Aleister Crowley. I'm just going to continue with my specific pronunciation of his name. What I would say about Aleister Crowley is there's much that we don't really know about him. Like what he wrote in his Book of the Law, what he wrote about the specific text that he wrote was much more to stir the pot. Like he wanted to stir the pot, and I think there is something to say about. Like he really wanted to stir the pot. He had something to give the humanity. He had something to give people, and he wanted the splendor of his of defiance of his own laws and customs during the day. So he was a custodian in a way of a different time. He was a custodian of a specific law, of a specific way of living that was unearthed by this world, and that was definitely not Victorian. He was definitely not in 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 custody with the Victorian rights of of the modern day world, and therefore he got butchered by the media, by people, and you can imagine that people essentially they whitewashed him. They black. They badmouthed him. They slandered his name as a result of what he did. But he was really definitely against our convention. To which extent I can't really tell you. I mean, the formidable stance I have is the formative stance at least I have is that there are a couple of things that are concerning to me about the controversies about surrounding Aleister Crowley that I'm not really sure how to really answer that. For instance, we see a lot about specific things like notions or even reference to sacrifices. Although I'm not really sure how he intended it. I won't really say he was sacrificial in any way, shape, or form when it came to physical sacrificing. I'm not saying there was material sacrificing, but there are, to me, I mean, you can literally look at the works but there are definitely rites of sacrificialness or specific hints at sacrificials that are tilting to the point of defiance of moral values and justice. And I find the problem with ethics, and like I'm a very ethical person. Like I do things sometimes I do things that are kind of unethical. I'm not going to be. I'm not somebody who's a clean cloth. I haven't always been clean throughout my life. I would say I have done things that are a bit ethically unfrowned or frowned upon throughout my life. I'm not completely. I'm not completely biased. I had sinned in the past. I had sinned, or I have sinned, because I will continue to sin anyway. So I'm going to use have as a past participle. Sorry, I'm kind of getting knotted speech. It's quite late at night, but anyways. So Aleister Crowley is an interesting, and to me, that's what's interesting about the cult in general, is there's so many characters that are continuing to live onto history. But I have a kind of love hate relationship with him, because I do think there's a lot that he gave this world in terms of penning specific terms and specific theories that are really, really conducive to this world and useful, and also practical and pragmatic to the world at large. And I don't think you can take that away from you. I know that there are a lot of people have tried to make him as some sort of phony or fraud, and I don't think you really say that about Aleister Crowley. He's not a phony or fraud. He's the real deal. He was an avid spiritualist. He was an avid occultist. He was definitely the real deal when it came to the occult. Like, he brought so much to the world. I know many things are kind of. He's not really a nexus of good thought. Okay? He's not a nexus really of good thought, or a forerunner of good thought, because of lots of things that people can. There's a lot of symbolic and archetypal language that you can take from his writings, and I think this leaves itself a room. It leaves itself open for a lot of interpretation. So I think Crowley is definitely an advanced listener. He's an advanced reader. He's not somebody from the beginner occultist. He's an advanced person. Like, if you just a run-of-the-mill teenager and you want to be a rebel, you thought about religion, you're a bit of a rebel without a cause, and you want to grab the book of the law and start reading it, you're probably going to go down a twisted path. And that's not really, I think, the intention that he had in the beginning. Although I never really read the book of the law, I know some phrases, but from what I can see, there are a lot of controversies around the book for good reasons. It's not without its reasons, and I do think from the base conclusive, or the base hypothesis you can draw, is there are some aspects, and especially with accounts. And to me, what I find quite puzzling is the accounts that came to the heterodox of the latter day, or the contemporaries writings of his specific of his time. Some of these writings, or some of these critiques and controversies, came from a response to his lifestyle based on heterodox, unorthodox, adherence to his specific philosophies. Even people who were not they weren't even they were protodoxical to his, so meaning that they actually agreed with him, but they turned heterodoxical as a result of what they saw. So we see people, like, say, in the Abbey of Thelema, where they wrote about Crowley, the specific. There are a lot of conspiracy theories around the Abbey of Thelema. I'm not going to say we know everything about it, but there are people who literally wrote about accounts. First person to second person account. We have first person account and second person accounts of the Abbey of Thelema, of specific rites. We even have photos. So I think the conclusion you can draw from it is that the person was very devout in his occultic practice, and he did things that are controversial. And that's one view you can take, is he did things that was controversial because he was such an interesting and intelligent man. So he obviously did things because he was a devout occultist. He didn't do that. He wasn't prevalent to non-withstanding morals. He wasn't somebody necessarily who tried to subdue morality, but because he was a devout occultist, let me just quickly change position. Because he was a devout occultist, he did it as a necessary condition. Not in spite of it, but because of it, if it makes sense. Like, it was a necessary condition for him to do some of these rites because he was devout in his faith as an occultist. And that has gotten him into trouble, right? But there are controversies. I'm going to say he is a bit of a dark horse when it comes to the occultic world. And simply so because, and mostly because, I would say, he didn't revere the occultic stance of his predecessors in the occult. Like, he didn't follow in the footsteps. He was the first rebel real rebel in the cold world. If you look at everybody before him, like even the last one in line, I believe is Eliphas Levi, and he still adhered to some tenets of Christianity. Like even he has subscribed at least somewhat to Christian faith, whereas Aleister Crowley completely just vehemently opposed Christianity. You know, he was the first real, what people claim the satanic panic figure, you know, in the Christian right. I mean, he was the first one to really subdue Christianity or unbrothel it in a way to dismantle Christianity and its own teachings and to say that it's completely unsinned. So he was the first one to really screw the pooch when it came to Christianity. I do think that's where the controversy lied with the satanic labels and also about the Antichrist, because I mean he obviously he enjoyed the notoriety about himself. I mean he obviously enjoyed the notoriety. It wasn't as if he was dismantling allegations or he fretted against what people told him. He was riding on the waves of his solicitary notoriety. I mean he really enjoyed it. So unfortunately for him, he couldn't really afford a lawyer, but again, he was pretty much of a rich kid, so obviously he could have blasted against accusations by hiring somebody. I mean, he obviously had all the money, so he came from money. He essentially came from money. So I don't really want to make this thing about Aleister Crowley. I mean, I'm literally here quarter to 11 p.m. in my time in South Africa, so I really don't want to make this whole topic with Aleister Crowley. I just wanted to just ramble. I guess if that's what you want to do, I just wanted to ramble. I just wanted to speak. I just wanted to talk a little bit of shit, if you wanted me. So I'm just in that mood right now. Okay. The reason there was a bit of an awakening in my life. I must say, if you followed my videos in 2024, there's a reason I've gotten into convex subjects, and the main reason, at least the forming reason that I've got into these subjects, was because I had a bit of a awakening. And that was because I spent 2024, or at least pretty much the whole of 2024, really unable to sleep. And I mean, you can follow my accounts, you can follow my videos. I was literally to the neck up with it. I was to the neck up at the end of my teether with insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I physically couldn't go dormant. And that followed me for 4 days. I now have literally twitches. I actually should launch another channel about benign and cramped fasciculation syndrome. What I have is these twitches. So if I look and I scan my body, it's like these small tremors. These small tremors that you would expect it from a Parkinson's patient of 80 years old. But I got these small tremors along the whole of my body, essentially, that's coming and going. They're always there, but they come and go in different places and different spots. They're localized pretty much in my my calves, and sometimes even in my hair. And at the beginning I used to freak out. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But I can feel like I'm really full of energy right now. I don't know where it's coming from, but anyway, so this is kind of what happens. Is I do have this energy because I stress. That's what. So because of my stress, there's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I tend to have a lot of energy as a result of my stress, and then I start coming on YouTube and I start making these vlogs because that's just who I am. Like I don't have a problem breaking the third wall. You probably have noticed it, but I don't have an issue saying, look, I'm just not up for discussions tonight. I'm going to break the third wall. I'm just going to ramble. And that's kind of what I'm up for tonight. I just want to ramble. I just want to talk shit and speak shit and, just piss on the floor essentially and just do whatever the hell I really want to do. Not least because I just had a very, very tough day working as well. And also part of it is because I'm a freelancer. I am working on Upwork. I have some gigs on Upwork, but I also work a bit of, I have other clients that I'm kind of working with. So it's not as if I have a lot of stress. I'm a writer. I'm a professional writer. So I just revealed I'm an SEO writer. So that's one of my gigs that I currently do. I'm also a composer. So part and parcel of what I'm doing is I'm doing writing, I'm composing music, I'm graphically working, I'm working choreographically, I'm doing videos, I'm doing AI, and doing pretty much everything I can get my hands on. So I'm a polymath, if I can. I don't even want to give myself that credit, but I'm a polymath. So my interest I've always been I have the autistic tendencies in me to really just hone into specific things. And what I really like about the occult in general is that it offers people a potential to shine. it's kind of heroic in a way. You know, the hero's journey thing that we talked about before, we beefed about before. Like the hero's journey is kind of that thing with the hero's journey where you walk the whole journey, you come back and you're stronger. And that's to me kind of what the occult, what the law, at least the law or the prevalence of the occult is actually giving people is that ability to say I've come back and I came back stronger rather than I came back weaker. And it's to me standing on the shoulders of giants. I don't think it's anything else than that. It's standing on the shoulders of giants, to quote the late Isaac Newton. The late Isaac Newton. He's not late, but I like saying there's just a punch to it when you say the late Albert Einstein. Whether he's late or not, I mean that's obviously up for splitting hairs. But I mean, talking referring to somebody as a late. It just sounds so grandiose and so boisterous in a way, and I kind of enjoy it. I kind of enjoy saying the late Albert Einstein, the late Isaac Newton. There's just so much more punch to power with his specific with the verbosity of his name. That there's a lot of black powder that comes with a bullet that I shoot. So it carries a lot of weight. It carries a lot of weight. So you probably can see that my mind is gonna go iffy now because it's getting late at night. But anyways, getting back to Aleister Crowley, he's an interesting fellow. I mean, there's a lot of bloodshed and tears about it, and especially the people that have been involved with him. If you look at pretty much everybody, they've gone completely crack. You know, they've gone completely crackheads. You know, all of these people have gone completely insane, and I don't even think there's anybody really befriended him at least for a couple of years, a bit shy of 10 years, a decade, that didn't really go completely just nut-headed. Yeah, I don't really know what more to say about him. I'm probably going to do a full-headed discussion. It's a bit more lateralized to really talk about Aleister Crowley, but I do think he's definitely a topic of debate and discussion. If anything else, I mean, he's somebody that's really, really interesting to me because I mean he is part of the occultic law, and he's definitely a shadowy figure when it comes to and also a weighted figure, somebody who carried a lot of he's a prominent piece on the chessboard when it comes to the occult, the world of the occult, the esoteric world. So yeah, I think the other thing about esoterica in general is that it's the elite, it's this elite credence that I really enjoy about it. Like this idea that we're studying stuff that are for the best, for the nobility. And the whole thing, like, we're not really from this earth, we're not really from this world. We're from a different world. And some of us are just born to be this way. And it's kind of that chicken and the egg problem where, when you find the esoterica, it's like it found you. It's not the other way around. It's a coincidental. It's like a coincidental truth. It's like you find it, you search for it, but it actually found you. It's like that type of things, that the metaphorical lore about it, that's kind of so enticing to think about, that something could find you, but it's not like you go and search for it. There's a bigger meaning, a metaphysical arresting that happened as a result of your finding it. And that is part and parcel of why I really enjoy looking at the esoteric and finding my feet in it. So yeah, that's just a bit about me. So anyway, if you really want to comment or say something about it, feel free to be my guest and just speak to me if you want to. I'd really like to hear about you. Anyways, let's stop.